Hello everyone. Today I am going to discuss with you about cost engineering, its meaning, definition, approaches, and explanation. The one that should master in this course are the cost engineer. They play an important role in the different industries today, and this could be in manufacturing, construction, and any other industries. Cost engineer budget, plan, and monitor investment of the project. The sake of optimum balance between cost, quality, and time requirements. Cost engineer is an engineer whose judgment and experience are utilized in the application of scientific principles and techniques to problems of estimation, cost control, business planning and management science, profitability analysis, project management, planning, and scheduling. One key objective of cost engineering is to arrive at accurate cost estimates and schedules and avoid overruns. Cost engineering go beyond preparing cost estimates and schedules by helping manage resources and supporting assessment of decision making. Let me show you here the general meaning summary of cost engineering. So cost engineering is the engineering practice devoted to the management of project cost involving such activities as estimating, cost control, cost forecasting, investment appraisal, and risk analysis. So that is all for the meaning and explanation of the cost engineering. So let me explain to you and narrate to you the key responsibilities of a cost engineer. Prepare the actual cost and of subcontractors to ensure that all project expenditures are cost project based on quotations and approved POs. Responsible to monitor project total expenditures, including verifying and checking of invoices and claims from suppliers, vendors, and properly recorded. Provides planning and cost controlling support for all the project, which includes variation, reporting, monitoring of milestone progress to the preparation of customer billing processes. Identify and quantify cost factors such as production time, materials, and labor expenses involved in a project. Coordinate and work with the project management team to resolve project issues to ensure the delivery and completion of the project work. Attend project meetings and discussions with the project management teams and clients. Perform project costing on a monthly basis to ensure that expenditures are kept within the total budget and for management review. Work with sales team to prepare estimates and bids for clients. Evaluate and recommend ways to make the product cost effective or profitable. Maintain an open communication flow with suppliers and vendors. So that is all for the key responsibilities of a cost engineer. So let me move forward to the approaches that most of a cost engineer had this approach. Be updated on the cost incurred and its value. Know the cost allocation and type of cost. Have the correct conversion and its value for accuracy. Know its main parts, processes, and sub-assemblies. Establish a standard cost as a main reference or main source. Know the total assembly man-hours. Know the cost involved in the whole operation. That is all for the approaches. So let me discuss to you the cost and project cost management. These are the two key main topics for this course. So cost. Cost is a resource sacrificed or foregone to achieve a specific objective or something given up in exchange, and it is measured in monetary units like dollars. For the project cost management, this includes the processes required to ensure that the project is completed within an approved budget. That is all for the meaning of cost and project cost management. So hope everything is clear in here. So next, we have four types of cost. The fixed cost, variable cost, semi-variable cost, and total cost. For the fixed cost, the cost which don't vary with changing output. So, meaning it will remain fixed and constant, and it will not change even if we increase the volume of the production. For the variable cost, cost which depend on the output produced. So, if we increase the output, the volume of the output, so it also increases. So, meaning it is directly proportional to the volume of the production. For semi-variable cost, they go up with volume but not in the same proportion as volume. So it is similar to the variable cost, but it is not directly proportional, but still it will rise. So for the total cost, it is the sum of fixed and variable cost. So that's all for the types of cost. Next, the diagram. This diagram shows the appearance of fixed, variable, and total. So the y-axis of this graph is the cost, and the x-axis is the volume of the production. So we can see that the fixed cost will remain constant even if we increase the volume of the production. And for the variable cost, this line, it will rise and increases as we increase the volume of the production. For the total cost, this line, this shows that it is the sum of the fixed cost and the variable cost. So for fixed cost, those are that do not vary with output and typically includes this one. This is the fixed cost. And it is typically includes rent, insurance, depreciation, setup cost, and normal profit. They are also called overhead. For the variable cost, this line, this is the variable cost, this line, are those that do vary with output, and they are also called direct cost. Examples of typical variable cost includes fuel, raw materials, and some labor cost. Thus, as the volume increases, the variable cost, this one, the variable cost increases, but the fixed cost remain constant. So that's the interpretation of this. Next, this is the behavior or the appearance of the difference between fixed and variable cost with the volume of the production. So the upper one, this is the variable cost with respect to the volume of the production. And the lower one, this is the fixed cost with respect to the volume of the production. So in the previous slide, it is will explain that the variable cost will rise as the volume of the production increase, and the fixed cost remain the same and constant even if we increase the volume of the production. As part of the fixed cost pricing of the fixed cost component, it is not expected to respond to the changes in the volume of activity, and another part of this cost, comprising of variable cost, is expected to change in response to changes of the volume of activity. So this is the real appearance of the variable and the fixed cost. Next is this is the behavior or graph appearance or of the difference between semi-variable cost with the volume of the production. So as we can see, semi-variable cost quite similar to the variable cost, but it is not meaning that it is not directly proportional to the production cost, but still it will rise as the volume of the production rise. And this includes utility bills such as power cost, telephone charges, repair and maintenance cost, and etc. are the examples of semi-variable cost. For example, power cost include a fixed portion of minimum charge that will be charged even if you do not consume power, and variable charge based on consumption of power. Thus, power cost increases with an increase in production activity but not in the same proportion. So that's the appearance of semi-variable cost with respect to the volume of the production. Next, I want you to know the real meaning of the total cost expenditure, which is also called as the total cost incurred, and the direct cost, indirect cost, as well as the factory overhead. Total cost expenditure, it is the sum of cost of all resources consumed in the project of making the product. It is also classified into three categories: the direct material, direct labor, and factory overhead. For the direct costs are the costs which are directly accountable to the cost of the product being produced. These are some overhead costs which are directly attributed to the project, may be also be classified as a direct cost. These costs are consisting of direct labor, direct material, and direct expense. For indirect costs not directly attributable to the completion of an activity. This cost also consists of indirect labor and indirect material. Most indirect cost belongs to the factory overhead, which includes the manager, supervisor salaries, utilities, and any other operating expenses. And the last one, the factory overhead, are all costs on the income statement except direct labor and direct expenses. It includes accounting fees, advertising, insurance, interest, legal fees, labor, burden, rent, repairs, supplies, taxes, telephone bills, travel expenditures, and utilities. Next, I want to show you the real diagram of the total cost expenditures. We have here total cost expenditures is composed of direct cost, indirect cost, and factory overhead. For the direct cost, we have fixed cost and variable cost. And for the factory overhead, we have also fixed cost and also the variable cost. That is the diagram of the total cost expenditure. Next, let me present to you this table and its corresponding diagram. So this is all about the total fixed cost and total variable cost, and of course the total cost, which is the sum of fixed and variable cost, with the corresponding here row 1 is the desired output. Now for the total fixed cost, this one, given that total fixed costs are constant, so we can see this one are constant. As output increases, so see this one, output is increases. The curve is a horizontal line on the cost graph. So this one, we can see this one, the total fixed cost. So this one, total fixed cost. Even if we increase the volume of the production, total fixed cost will remain the same. So for the total variable cost, so we have total variable cost here. This is a total variable cost. The total variable cost curve slopes up at an accelerating rate, reflecting the law of diminishing marginal return. So this is the appearance of total variable cost. So for the total cost, this one, the total cost, we can see the appearance of its graph. So for the total cost curve is found by adding the total fixed cost and total variable cost. So this is the total fixed cost, this is the total variable cost. So its position reflects the amount of fixed cost and its gradient reflects on the variable cost. So we can see its position. So this one is position. So the total amount of variable cost reflected on its position. So that is the appearance of total fixed cost and the total variable. The next table and graph is the average fixed cost. Average fixed cost will slope down continuously from left to right. So we can see this one. This is the average fixed cost. So it will slope down continuously from left to right. So it will until here. So that's the appearance of our total fixed cost. So the total fixed cost, this is the table. This is the total fixed cost, average fixed cost. So for the average fixed cost, uh, it is found by dividing the total fixed cost by output. So we can see this one. So average fixed cost is the result of dividing the total fixed cost by output. So we can see this is the result if we divide this column by this. So this is the result. As fixed cost is divided by an increasing output, average fixed cost will continue to fall. So if we increase the output, the average fixed cost will continue to fall lower and lower. So that's the appearance of the average fixed cost with regards to the output of the production we desire to produce. So the next graph and tables are the average variable cost. Average variable cost are found by dividing the total fixed variable cost by output. So this is the average variable cost, and it is the result of dividing the total variable cost by an output. So same as the average fixed cost, if we increase the output, the average variable cost will also lower and lower. So an average variable cost curve will at first slope down from left to right and then reach a minimum point and rise again. So the average fixed cost, this is the average, average variable cost, this is the average variable cost. It will slope down from left to right until it will hit a minimum point, then rise again. So I think it hits the minimum point here and then it rise again. So that's the appearance of the average variable cost. So average variable cost is U-shaped because of the principles of the variable proportions which explains the three phases of the curve. So the average variable cost is U-shaped as I mentioned earlier. So because of the principle of variable proportions which contains the three phases of the curve. Increasing returns to the variable factors which cause average cost to fall, followed by constant returns, followed by diminishing returns which cause the cost to rise again. And the next is the average total cost. So average total cost is also called average cost or unit cost. Average total cost are a key cost in the theory of the firm because they indicate how efficiently scarce resources are being used. Average variable costs are found by dividing the total fixed variable cost by output. So this is the graph of the average fixed cost and average variable cost and the average total cost. So the average total cost is the sum of the average fixed cost and the average variable cost. This is the graph of the average total cost. So the average total cost can be found by adding the average fixed cost and the average variable cost. The curve is also U-shaped. We can see this one, the U-shape, because it tasks its shape from the average variable cost curve, with the upturn reflecting the onset of diminishing returns on the variable factor. It is U-shaped because of the average variable cost reflect on this cost. So that's why this is the appearance of the average total cost. So that is all for the average total cost. So let me proceed here. The areas for total cost. So total fixed cost and total variable cost are the respective areas under the average fixed and average variable cost curve. So here I already explained to you about the average total cost and the average variable cost. So the y-axis in this graph is the cost or revenue, and the x-axis is the volume of the production or the output. So this is the average variable cost, and this is the average total cost. We can see that the average total cost and the average variable cost is a U-shape, but the total variable cost in this is, see, the average variable cost. The purple one is the total variable cost area, and the orange one, this one, is the total fixed cost area, and this one, the point P, E, Q, these are the sum of the average, no, is the sum of total fixed cost and the total variable cost, which is, this is the total cost. So these are the areas of the total cost. Hope everything is clear, and thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Bye bye.